Welcome back to the cryptowrld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now Bitcoin is still holding above this very important level of support, while the leverage across exchanges is continuing to explode to the upside. This is very important to pay attention to. So I'll be discussing all of that and more later in the video, so definitely stick around to the end so that you're not missing out on any of this important information. And just before we jump into it, you might as well leave a like on the video down below, and if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe with notifications turned on for more updates just like this every single day. But with all of that out of the way, let's get straight into this video, and I thought we should start off by looking at the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index, which is still sitting in extreme fear as it has been doing a lot recently. But if you're looking at the value this is sitting at today, which is 10, that is incredibly low for this index, and we honestly do not see that very often. In fact, this chart just here shows us what the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index has done over the past 1 year. And so once again, right now we're sitting at 10, and we've only seen that value 4 other times over the past 1 year. And those 4 other times all came into play in between May, June, and July 2021, which obviously provided an amazing buying opportunity for the next few months or so. So like I said earlier, this is a rare occasion, a rare opportunity, because once again, we've only seen this happen 4 days out of the past 1 year apart from today. And the subscribers on this channel would already know about this chart, but for any new viewers out there, this is the Bitcoin to US dollar chart on the daily time frame, and these green zones just here map out the time periods where the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index was either sitting in extreme fear or very close to extreme fear. And so what we can see in all of these past time periods where we were sitting in extreme fear, they all turned out to be amazing buying opportunities if you're just dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin and holding for the longer term. Of course, that's not financial advice. I'm just telling you what this indicator means and what has happened in the past. And just before we get into some other important Bitcoin charts, I'll first need to talk about the Bitcoin estimated leverage ratio, which is right now still heading to the upside. For any of the new viewers out there, the Bitcoin price is the black line just here, and the purple line is the estimated leverage ratio, which is calculated by dividing the total amount of Bitcoin open interest on exchanges divided by the total amount of Bitcoin reserves on exchanges. So basically, it tells us if there's more or less leverage in the market relative to the amount of Bitcoin on exchanges. And you can clearly see that right now this is at record highs, even after we've seen a lot of bearish price action here in the shorter term. And so if the Bitcoin price experiences a significant move to the downside, but all of that leverage on exchanges stays at these high levels and in fact increases, obviously there's a good chance that the majority of that leverage is sitting in short positions. Otherwise, if they were in long positions, they would have closed by now. We've seen this happen time and time again in the market. For example, back in April and May 2021, we saw the Bitcoin price increase as the leverage was increasing. So there was a good chance at that stage, because the Bitcoin price was going to the upside, that the majority of that leverage was in long positions. So when we saw the flush out of all of that leverage, that resulted in a long squeeze, which basically crashed the price of Bitcoin. We also saw the same thing at the beginning of the September correction. As you can see, leading up to that correction, the Bitcoin price and the leverage were both increasing together. And then eventually we flushed out all of those leverage long positions that we gathered throughout the August pump. And so apart from the fact that both of those scenarios that I just mentioned resulted in a long squeeze and a crash in the Bitcoin price, the main thing they have in common is the fact that the Bitcoin price leading up to that point was going to the upside while the leverage was also going to the upside. But right now that is not the case. Obviously the Bitcoin price has been going to the downside while the leverage has been going to the upside. And so if you want to compare this to anything, really it's most similar to what we saw during June and July 2021, because obviously back then the Bitcoin price was constantly heading to the downside as it has been recently. But during that same time period where the Bitcoin price was going to the downside, we saw the leverage increase quite rapidly actually. And then it got to the point where we saw a major spike in the leverage just here, and then that eventually topped out. And then as the leverage got flushed out of the market, that basically led into a short squeeze, which is the opposite to those long squeeze scenarios that I just mentioned. And so instead of seeing another major crash in the Bitcoin price after July, we saw a massive move to the upside, which was that short squeeze. And right now we are simply seeing the same signs on this chart as what we were seeing back during June and July 2021. So we are potentially building up for a major short squeeze, especially as more and more leverage comes into the markets, because the more leverage there is, the more explosive the squeeze will be. Now, with that being said, we technically have not confirmed a bottom just yet, and we haven't confirmed a recovery, but it's just important to realize that this is currently building right now, very similar to how we were building the short squeeze around half a year ago. But how can we really know that a lot of this leverage is built up into short positions? Well, we can simply look at the exchange data across all of these exchanges, and right now the majority of positions across the majority of these exchanges are in short positions. On top of that, if you're looking at the funding rates at the moment, we're seeing a lot of negative funding rates, showing us that there's currently a lot of short positions in the market right now. And speaking of similarities between the current Bitcoin price action and what we saw back during June and July, we have still got all of these similarities on the Bitcoin daily time frame. First of all, if you're looking at the Bitcoin price action that we saw around 6 to 12 months ago, it was looking like we were forming a potential head and shoulders pattern, and a lot of people were talking about this pattern at that stage right there. Even some massive names in investing like Michael Burry, for example, from The Big Short, was calling this a huge head and shoulders pattern and was calling for a major dump to the downside. But because of how obvious this pattern was, the majority of people entered short positions at this stage just there in anticipation of another major move to the downside, even though the market already experienced the major move to the downside in the 2 months leading up to what we saw in July. So because of the fact that everyone was panicking into the market and entering into short positions, we simply played out that massive short squeeze to the upside entering into August. And if you're on the channel back then, I was letting you know about this about 2 days before it actually played out. And right now, if you're looking in the price action, we've got a very similar thing happening. Not to mention in the daily RSI for Bitcoin, we are also showing a lot of similarities between right now and what we saw around half a year ago. Now, with all of that being said, of course, it's important to mention that just because something happened in the past, it doesn't guarantee something's going to happen in the future. So just keep that in mind as well, and don't necessarily bet everything on this happening again. But with that being said, my personal Bitcoin strategy is to simply remain dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin right now and holding for at least the next few months or so. If you were on the channel back in July, I was telling you the same thing, and obviously you can see how that played out. Also, it is still possible that we could play out this Wyckoff accumulation pattern on the Bitcoin 12-hour time frame right now. But in order for this pattern to continue to play out, we really need to see a bounce sometime soon in the Bitcoin price, as in within the next couple days or so. What I said in yesterday's Bitcoin update video is if we see the Bitcoin price stay right down here for a very long time, so basically form a sideways consolidation below around 43 to 44,000, then in that case, it would be safe to say that this pattern would be invalidated. But right now, there's technically still a chance that this could play out if we see a bounce very soon. And also looking at the Bitcoin order books across all of these exchanges, we still have a lot of buy orders coming into play at almost exactly 40,000 US dollars per Bitcoin. I'll let you know that yesterday on the channel. And of course, we're still holding above that level of support, which is great to see. And if you want to get extra Bitcoin content just like this throughout the day, make sure you follow me over on my Twitter. And the link to my Twitter is in the description down below and also in the pinned comment. If you got anything of value out of this video, please make sure to leave a like down below. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe with notifications turned on so that you don't miss out on any of these future updates that I post every single day. And before you click off, you might as well check out one of these uploads if you haven't already, because these videos can potentially help you make more money in the crypto markets. And as always, I appreciate all of your support in the channel at the moment. I can't thank you guys enough. But anyway, that is it for this update. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.